So once I register for the test and I pay for the test, I have 21 days. So for preparing of the test, so what are the main components or what is the time span I have to prepare for? For example, I've opened my laptop and how much time does this test take? Is it 2 hours, 3 hours, or what is the time span?
This test is only about 1 hour long.
Is it?
That's the time of the test. It takes just about an hour.
Okay.
And I say about an hour because it really depends on how much time students want to spend on each question. They may choose to spend all the time available.
Okay.
They may finish sooner and move on to the next one.
Okay.
So it's usually in the range of about an hour.
So 1 hour is, I think, very minimal time which I have heard recently for the English test.
Yes.
So what are the main, are there any components like, for example, for other courses, for other exams, I have heard that there will be reading, writing and etc. So what are the main components in Duolingo English test I have to be prepared for?
So unlike on other tests, the Duolingo English test questions are not divided into distinct sections.
Okay.
You will not find a separate section for reading, listening, writing and speaking.
Okay.
But so in this 1 hour, you are presented questions in a certain sequence. You will get some comprehension questions to start with, and then it moves on to some interactive questions where you are presented with some information and you have to respond, and it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
And then it ends with the production questions, which are your speaking and writing questions.
Okay.
And it seems like a really short test, but that's because this test uses technology called computer adaptive testing.
Okay.
And what that basically means is that the difficulty level of some of the questions on the test is adapted to the test taker's performance.
Okay.
So, for example, what that looks like in action is if you answer a question correctly on the test, the next question is likely to be a more difficult one.
Oh.
If you make a mistake or you answer a question incorrectly, the next question will be a slightly easier question.
Okay.
And in this way, it's trying to kind of calibrate what your actual language level is.
Okay.
Which is why the test is shorter, because adaptive testing is a more efficient testing way.
If a question, I have answered it wrongly, then it will make the next question more easy for me so that I can answer it in a more confident way.
Well, it's not about in a more confident way. It's that the system is trying to figure out what exactly your language level is.
Okay.
So if you find a question that was pitched at a certain level difficult because you made an error that tells us that this is, something that is not within your language capacity, then you're presented with an easier question, which you may answer correctly, in which case the next one again gets a little more difficult. So in this way, by adjusting the level, it's trying to figure out really what exactly where you are on the frame of reference for languages.
Okay. I guess this is an interesting take on the test. As you mentioned, there are separate questions for reading, writing and other components as well. So can you specifically say any example of what type of questions a student can expect in each of those components?
So to give you a broad overview of the test flow itself, the test starts with some comprehension questions.
Okay.
And these are testing basically your reading comprehension and listening comprehension skills. And there are test questions. I'll give you some examples. One of them is a gap fill question type that comes at the start of the test, where they read a statement. It has a word which has some missing letters. And based on the context available, they have to guess what the missing letters are and complete that word. This is called fill in the blanks. There's also another comprehension question type called read and select, where they are presented one word at a time, and they have 5 seconds within which they have to choose yes or no to answer whether that word is a real or fake English word. So those are some of the types of comprehension questions they get on the test: gap fills, sentence completion, passage completion. They also have some listening questions that involve transcription. So they have to listen to somebody speaking and then write what they hear. There are a couple of interactive comprehension questions that follow this set of comprehension questions, where they have to read some text, or they read a part of the text and they have to answer.
Okay.
Then they are presented with some more information about the text and they have to answer some other questions until they finish reading the entire text.
Okay.
And similar to this, we have an interactive listening question type, which involves the test taker participating in a kind of role play or a simulated conversation where they listen to an audio of someone speaking and then choose from a list of options what the best response would be. And in this way, they kind of carry on this conversation until it comes to a conclusion.
Okay, understood. So, for example, if I answer this question and I move on to next question, so is there any possibility or is there a chance for me to revisit this question, or I have to just only move forward?
So on the Duolingo English test, once you finish answering a question, you move on. You can't go back and adjust or fix your answers to previous questions.
Okay. So is there any specific time limit you suggest that I have to spend for each question so that I can complete my total overall test in 1 hour?
I wouldn't say there is a specific time limit that you need to worry about in the sense that when you are answering questions, when they appear on the screen, there are some questions that have certain minimum amounts of time that you have to spend. So, for example, there are some writing and speaking questions where you have to write for, at least 30 seconds or speak for at least 30 seconds before the system will allow you to progress to the next question.
Okay.
So, you don't have a choice about the minimum time. But for example, for one of the speaking questions, if you have, say, 3 minutes to respond, you may not want to use all 3 minutes. You may finish in 2 minutes. So our general guideline to students is always use all the time available.
Okay.
There's no advantage to finishing early. You're not getting extra points because you finished fast.
There's no specific time limit I have to spend except for some speaking and writing questions, as you mentioned.
Even for the comprehension questions, there are time limits in the sense that, for some of the questions, you'll have 20 seconds to respond.
Okay.
Or you'll have half a minute to respond, or you'll have 1 minute to read and write something.
Okay.
So you should be aware of the time limits, but it's really the system that's controlling how much maximum time you can spend. Once your time is up, the system's going to move on to the next question, whether or not you're done.
Yes. So I can't revisit them, so I have to make perfect usage of the time given. So
and
that I can
for that, it will help if you know what the times are.
So for how many marks is this Duolingo English test is? What is the total marks? And as this video is brought to you by VmapU, your trusted partner in realizing overseas dreams since 2009. With expert counseling, personalized guidance, visa assistance and more, they have helped around 1.5 lakh students achieve their international dreams. Whether it's pursuing MS in USA, MBA in UK or in any other country, contact VmapU by clicking on the link below. Register yourself by entering name, email ID and phone number, and they will call you back within 24 hours to guide and turn your aspirations into reality. And VmapU also offers free SOP maker, free LOR maker and free university shortlisting tool as well. Make sure to explore these. Thank you.